All right, this is James Pelton, and I am here with Jeremy from Expedition Defi. So I want to welcome everybody who's watching. Like to give a minute or so here for people to kind of hop on as their alarms go off that, hey, the live is starting, and then they hop on. And as always, if you're watching, what you can do to really help me and help Jeremy out is if you can hit the like button. Again, that tells the YouTube algorithm that this is important, that this is good content that people will want to see. And if you too wouldn't mind commenting, here was what we'll ask today. Who's your favorite YouTuber besides James Pelton and Jeremy from Expedition DeFi? Okay, that's what we're going to go ahead and ask today. And we're going to just kind of have a discussion today with Jeremy, kind of get his take on some things, get to know him. I'll post a link to his channel too, so you can check him out. But if you have questions that you would like to ask as we're going through, feel free to ask them in the comments, and we would love to bring those up and kind of some topics that we'd love to talk about. So you can ask me questions, ask Jeremy questions, ask us questions that you want us to discuss together. And I'm posting his link to YouTube right here, right now. So check him out. Please give him a subscribe. It's difficult to get traction as a newer YouTuber. So I like to I remember that part of my journey. And so anything I can do to try to help get some traction is what I'm here for. So Jeremy, could you please, well, first off, welcome to the channel.
Thank you
for being here.
Appreciate you having me.
And could you introduce yourself and give a little bit of your background?
Yeah. So my name's Jeremy Wilson. I live in Boise, Idaho. So obviously fully doxxed. But I was just sharing with James just before we went live that I actually came into the DeFi space just a few months ago, but was in Bitcoin back in 2017 and got caught up in the altcoin craze and basically, long story short, diversified out and ended up not wanting to manage all these altcoins and trying to buy and trade and do all the things at the right time. And I was just like, man, this thing ain't for me. And I liquidated my entire 1.5 Bitcoin worth of altcoin and then immediately watched Bitcoin's meteoric rise and have cried myself to sleep most nights since. So, but a few months ago, my cousin Josh Borgman got me basically looking into it. I was just telling James that he actually was like, hey, we got to look at this drip thing. He got caught up in the time thing. So he's had some pretty rough experiences already. And so, I've been able to learn a lot from him, but I almost bought into drip and he's like, hold on, I think it's going to go cheaper. And so we waited and sure enough, it did its decline. And, I just kind of cut my teeth on, the idea that I wanted to create a channel that's not James Pelton. No offense, brother. But when I looked at your videos, I was just like, I can't afford that. Like, I can't make those kinds of plays. And I couldn't really find anyone that was making like smaller plays for long term. Well, that has kind of been my journey, is finding out why that's the case. And that's kind of what's leading to this conversation today. So that's a little bit about me. I am doing this basically right now full time. I am transitioning into, we're launching a property casualty insurance business here locally. So that's kind of on the horizon, but in my interim between career moves, I'm literally just doing this. So.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, and that's been one of the hardest parts of my channel. Is I kind of created it just wanting to show, hey, here's what I'm doing. But then I found out, I came to crypto. I sold a 7-figure business before. And so I came to crypto with a big chunk of money already. And so like a lot of my degen plays, I kind of found out, oh, actually, these aren't really for everyone. Okay, these are not like wealth building things. These are like fun things that I'm doing. And so that's been hard on my channel. And actually, I've appreciated you. You kind of helped give me some perspective on things of like, hey, James, that might not be what like average people, what normal people will want to get into. And so I've tried to back off on like some of the play to earn games and things like that. So
man,
really appreciate that. And I want to give a shout out to a Colin from Decade Investor. He's in here with us. Colin, you need to shoot me a DM and we can do this sometime as well. But yeah, he's a good guy also.
Yeah.
Sure. So Jeremy, kind of talk to me. So you were telling me about some things that are like really on your heart. The DeFi space is kind of in a rough space right now. I think it's hard for people to make money. Do you kind of want to just give a little bit about your perspective and where you see that we're at? And do you think it's possible to make money in the DeFi space right now?
Yeah. So that's obviously loaded. And anyone who knows me knows that I can tend to ramble and bunny trail myself. So keep me on track here, James. I'm counting on you. But, I asked James coming into this, we were talking about, like, we both have 3 kids. And I was like, I have to know, how old are you? And he gave me a number that just kind of hit me in the heart, because I'm realizing very quickly that I am the boomer in the room. I'm 40 years old, and so I'm no spring chicken. I don't have a lot of time to build wealth, to come up with a retirement plan. I've worked a lot of jobs. My resume is long and vast, mostly in training, honestly, corporate training and stuff like that. And then most recently in telesales with health insurance and stuff. But when I came into this space, I had this idealist view, especially because I came in right at the beginning of node season. And so I was like, I'm gonna pick up 5 Vapor nodes, and I'm gonna just start at 1,000 VPND per node, and I'm just gonna grow them over time. I, like you and I talked about this with red light. I was like, I don't like the imaging. I don't like what it seems to be about. But then people started making fun of me, like, oh, so you hate money. Okay, cool. And so I started looking deeper into it. And as I got to know 8-Bit Alex and his vision, at Jose Mejias over there at Vapor, I was like, these are actually good dev teams that are trying to build more than just a node. And so I put my money in there, believing that these were going to be long-term plays. And thankfully I've been right. Yeah, the price action hasn't shown it, but I believe in what the dev teams are doing. And even with the low price action, they are grinding it out to make something special for the communities that have believed in them. And I believe that's on the horizon for both plays. And I still to this day feel that Vapor is probably one of the easiest, best, like, coming into the space is one of the best plays for a new DeFi investor. So do I believe money can be made? Absolutely. Where the part that's been on my heart, and some of you may have seen my recent red light video that I did, kind of more of a tongue in cheek, but I used an example in there. And this is kind of where I'll spin our conversation off to, James, James and I are both believers in Jesus. We love Jesus. We go to church. We do all that stuff. And so for me, like, my brain immediately goes to the current state of especially nodes, but I think DeFi in general, is this idea, and this is kind of a metaphor that I came up with, of we'll call it node church. We have this church that wants to start up, and then it wants to go out and change the world. And it's looking for people to join with them, to fund them, to go out and build food pantries, to go out and build, mission work, and do things to be effective for people in the world. And so I hear their vision. I jump on, I get on their whitelist, and they're going to give me some special deals to come on board with them. And they're going to basically pay me back over time once they get going with some of their, nonprofit, whatever. I jump in, I sit in my pew, and then the usher comes down, and I'm telling all my friends, I'm like, this church is going to change the world. You got to join me at church. Come to church, come to church. And they all line up and down the pew. And I got my whitelist spot. I grab that bucket from the usher and I put my money in it, right? And then I pass it to the next guy, and he puts his money, $1,000. Next guy puts $500. Next guy maybe $100. The next guy, whale, puts in 10 grand. Loves what the church is about. Loves what they're going to do. And then as that bucket starts coming back to the usher, just before it gets to the usher, I reach in as the whitelister and take all the money out and hand the usher an empty bucket. And I just have gotten the sense that this is what investors are doing to these projects. I look at, man, how hard must it be for 8-Bit Alex to build an entire gasless blockchain when everyone is just trying to do everything they can to take the money out that they need to develop, And so that's kind of just spun me out of, into, some of the videos that I've recently posted, some of my Twitter posts, because it's just, it hurts my head to think that like we investors could very well be ruining the very thing that we're hoping to make passive income on. So I'm going to leave it there, James, get your thoughts. Cause like I said, I can ramble.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting. Yeah, so when you see a project fall apart, that's kind of what you were telling me about was, yeah, is it the project's fault? Is it the whale's fault? Is it the average investor's fault? Is it the influencer's fault that we're often I'm blamed for a project falling apart? Yeah, and it's probably in the end, it probably doesn't matter whose
Well, I
fault it
think
is.
in the end, the answer is yes.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's probably true. And in the end, it doesn't really matter. Like, what I'm kind of just realizing is I just want my audience to make money. Like, I want them to reach their goals. So I'm trying to just get more in touch with, hey, what are your goals? And the people who watch me, their goal is to make passive income. And
Yeah.
so then it's like, okay, well, what's the best way that I can help them do that? And so that's where I've kind of my mindset has been shifting towards, okay, if you don't have a lot of money to start out with, do some of these uh, less safe projects to get some income, but then quickly get it out and put it into safer things. And it's really hard for me because every project says they're going to change the world. Like I'm tired of hearing revolutionizing DeFi
Right.
or changing the blockchain or all these catchphrases.
Or my favorite one lately is our utility is going to be a P2E game. Like
Yeah,
P2E is just, I mean, it's almost become a swear word. So, I mean, obviously we can't blame investors for, we had this issue with Dark Forest. We had a guy who invested quite a bit and his nodes were putting out well, and he came up with his own strategy to both try not to dump the protocol, but also to get his ROI to, do what he felt was best for the community because he's a very knowledgeable guy. And at the end of the day, it came down to like, we had to have a conversation because I told the guys like, we can't get mad at these guys for, for taking out, their claims and selling, because if the project gives the buttons to click, human nature is to click the buttons, right? Like we're here to make money. We're not here to necessarily play games and do all that. And so I think there's this disconnect that, as we kind of talked about, that only community can bridge this disconnect.
yeah, no, I think that's true. And the way capitalism works is you're supposed to design things in a way where when people are seeking their self-interest, it actually helps things.
Yeah.
So that's why if you want people to lock their tokens for a certain amount of time, like you don't want them to claim, then that should be, in my opinion, that should be worked into the contract. So like Drip, for example, you can withdraw 1% a day is what the contract allows, because that's what we think is necessary for the protocol to be sustainable. But yeah, it's a really so Hilm Williams says, "Are play to earn games not the play?" And so here's my take on play to earn games. So in every economy, there are different currencies. So money is obviously the main one. But then there's also like time, and entertainment is a currency that's part of an economy. The problem with play to earn games is that they are not entertaining. And so they're built like entertainment is supposed to be a part of it, but it's really not. So it ends up just being money is, and the return is too fast usually. So it's just kind of like a node project on accelerators. And so it just dies really quick. So again, if you get in early and get your initial out, you can usually make your money back pretty quickly. But if you try to compound in any way, then usually you end up exit liquidity for someone else. So
Yep. And that's exactly where I'm sitting with Navy SEAL game. I mean, I'm going to call it a rug. They came out, they had all their issues, their developer left them and right into the ground. And, and I was sad because like I minted a POTUS, I'm up to 3 Navy SEALs and I've got like 12 terrorists. So I'd be making a cool penny, but it's not even worth a penny now. So it's like, and I think Heroes and Villains ended up pulling the plug, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, he wasn't able to mint enough, and
Yeah.
so he. Well, I think people are kind of getting tired of the play to earn games, And so he was hoping to mint 10,000. I think he ended up minting like 20.
Yeah.
And so I think people have just kind of lost faith. And Bird Dog says that eventually the games will get better. And that's true. Actually, my video on my channel today is going to be, I have an AMA with Illuvium, which if you haven't seen Illuvium, it's going to be the first AAA blockchain game. So it's actually going to be competing with, Elder Scrolls and like mainstream games like that. So pretty exciting about that. And the problem is those types of games take a long time to build. And we're so new to the crypto space that there just hasn't been time for those types of games to be built. But I
Well,
think
in 100 Day Ventures, they just partnered with Little Orbit. That was their first big partnership. So I'm really excited. That Ships That Fight Underground looks so dope. Like I would play that. I would hire my kids to play that for me so they can mine daddy some crypto.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, child labor laws always come into question. But I think we'll be okay. Can I ask you, have you made money in crypto? Are you making money right now? Or can I ask where your portfolio is at right now?
Yeah, so I have diversified pretty wide up to this point. I've had good plays, but for the most part, so with Dark Forest, obviously, I came on board with them as a multi-sig key holder for them, and then we just hit it off. I love that team so much, and I was helping them with so much marketing anyway. They're like, we need to get you on board to be part of the actual team to help with the marketing. But I will say that one of the first things they did for me, and I didn't even know they were going to do it because every key holder has some agreement with the project that they're with for some kind of compensation, just to be a key holder and be that representation for the community, but to be available, like I have to be available whether it's on my phone or whatever to get on and sign transactions, and then I'm also tasked with asking the questions, where are these funds going, right? And so the first payment they made to me was a node. And at the time, it was pre-sale. They built it in pre-sale, and it was worth 2 trillion NART. Supposed to be Nader, but something happened, and they changed it to NART. Won't get into that. But literally, in this last pump from Dark Forest, which I think you kind of came in there about the middle of it, during that time frame, I absolutely could have, and this could lead to the next part of our conversation, I could have claimed over $10,000 in that pump, because I had such a large node at that price point, because it had already pumped up and built up the original pre-sale node, but then it just spiked. Like we just saw a run on NART like I haven't seen on a token in a while. It was super exciting. The TVL between my 3 nodes that I have with them was over $100,000. And it was the emissions on my nodes alone were $3,300 a day, which I absolutely could have claimed. But I already ROI'd on my investments with them. So I knew that by doing that, if I started claiming that $3,000, then it would absolutely take that moonshot and turn it straight back down. And then it would cause the fear sell-off of everyone that was just day trading and everything, like, oh, it's over. And then everyone's going to sell off and it's going to go right back down, which in the end probably isn't the worst thing, because we did have that happen. We had a $9,000 sell-off, but I could have made that money. But for me, I love the project. I love the community enough that I didn't want to dump their charts for the little guys that didn't get blessed with a big node. I mean, even my $200 investment that I personally made was worth at the height $16,000. So it's just, insane what can happen in the space. But that's kind of why I say, like, community may be the most important thing that will bridge the gap between investor and project, that saves the DeFi space, maybe not as a whole, but at least certain projects and nodes and stuff like that.
Yeah, and there's definitely you have to think through projects as either short term or long term, because that's what makes you dump or hold. Like if you think of it as, oh, this is a short term play, well, then you definitely have to dump if it goes up that high. Because it's like, well, you'd be silly not to. But if you see it as a long-term play where, hey, I'm not looking for, $1 million market cap. I'm looking for $1 billion market cap. I'm not looking for the 10x. I'm looking for the 1000x.
Yep.
Then it's just different. So you just have to kind of look at projects and see, hey, what's their long-term vision? and what's their short-term vision. Because what I'm finding is a lot of these economic gymnastics that we play with, whether it be auto compounding or node or whatever, these are just runways to, there needs to be something long-term that they're trying to do. Like Ripple, for example, we were talking about Ripple, but they're looking to be, the payment system of the world, basically. I mean, so that's not so when there's a dip in Ripple, most Ripple holders don't dump all their Ripple because they're like, oh, well, I'm looking for Ripple to be maybe some people talk about it passing Bitcoin, in market cap.
Well, and you look at projects like DAG with the Constellation Network. You got Proton. Like I'm starting to look into DAG. It's very hard for me here in Idaho to get into certain things because Idaho, the U.S. bans enough of the centralized exchanges, and then Idaho's even tighter. So it's very difficult. I finally found a way for me to get in, get some bag growing on the Proton. But both of those, as far as I know, have been basically hodling for over a year now, claiming to be the next big, Proton being the next big gasless blockchain, and then Constellation going to be a technology thing. I mean, your AMA with Finovant got me really bullish on Constellation because I believe that they said they were launching on Avalanche, but are eventually going to find their home on Constellation, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yep. Yeah. So I think for people watching, I think what's been most helpful for me is as I do an AMA, I try to figure out how far is their plan, how far out is it, and then that's kind of what you have to look at as the kind of profit arc, if you will. Mm-hmm. So if like their plan is 4 months out, well, then you have to kind of know, okay, the profit arc is going to kind of be like this, unless they make some drastic changes during that time. And so when I'm looking at like Ripple, they're looking at 50 years. So okay, well their profit spike's probably going to be at like 25 years or something like that. And so you just have to kind of see project by project, like these auto compound tokens that have nothing else except for we're just auto compound token. Yep. I kind of see, okay, that's probably like a 2 month, if that's probably a 2 month cycle. The play to earn games is probably a week or 2 weeks.
If that, my
if
gosh.
that.
Yeah. Well, and that brings up a great point in that with a lot of these projects, right? Like we have to determine the long-term, short-term nature. And like when I look at like Dark Forest, the problem is people just, and I beat the crap out of Dark Forest when I first got there. I'm like, guys, your Gitbook looks like crap. Like literally people walk in here and all they see is a univ fork. And then all I hear is no univ fork has ever made it. Why would I invest here? And so, we got a lot of that stuff cleaned up, but even now people come to Dark Forest and all they see is a node play. That's all they see is the node. And so they trade on it and do everything just like any other node without understanding the actual roadmap. I can't tell you how many people like when people get into the Discord and start like asking questions, the community that's in there has become ravenous. Like it's like the Polar community has always been like, right? You post, I did a funny post where I was like, watch guys, within seconds of me posting this hashtag of Polar, this $sign of Polar, like they're going to come out of the woodwork. And sure enough, like when Polar woke up, my whole thread blew up and proved the point. But it's like, you get into these communities and you start understanding how they're going to be long-term. And you're not looking for buzzwords like P2E game. Yeah, Dark Forest has P2E on there, but if you listen to Trey, he's just like, I don't even like P2E games. Like that's just on there because they have some ideas. But even he understands a good game is going to cost $400,000, plus dollars to even get started with the developing and stuff like that. And so, the hard thing is that sometimes it takes the community to help educate people to the longevity of it. And then it comes down to, are the people willing to work together to keep things stable? And I think we are going to start seeing that shift. I mean, you're kind of already seeing it, as more of the ideas of these ecosystems, right? I think, we're starting to hear the word ecosystem a lot more because I don't think that a rebase token by itself can survive. because there's not really utility. So all of this stuff is just their runways, right? To get these 747s off the ground. And the problem is, like, investors come into them, they're looking for that quick flip. And so we got people throwing down pavement trying to get, runway built. And then we got other investors scraping up the pavement, before the plane even starts taking off. And so I think, the communities are going to have to start coming together to really, create a mass, I don't know, like an awareness of the projects that they love, because otherwise people are just going to come into it, see what they see. They'll be like, okay, every rebase token has done this, so this is how we're going to trade this one. We're going to get in, make a buck, and get out. Meanwhile, you got all these founders and projects that are legit that can't do anything because all the money is removed as fast as it's given to them.
Yeah, and that's why I like tomb forks, because tomb forks are, I mean, they're the same way. They're just providing a landing strip, but the way that they're built, the landing strip is very long. And so they have a long time to kind of figure out what they're going to do. I thought Brad had a good question here. What's the disconnect between do not trade with emotion, but hodl because you love the project? And I'll let you start, and then I have a lot of thoughts on this.
I know you do. No, people, I think when we're talking about trading with emotion, that comes into when you decide to sell and when you decide to buy, right? Like, so when I come into something, if I see the price spiking, you're like, holy crap, I'm going to miss the rocket, right? And then it's going up, and then you buy here, and then somebody says, okay, it's at the high, and he sells right there, right? So you get caught up in the hype. Whereas, I haven't jumped in on a lot of like pre-sales or anything. Etherstones is probably my biggest investment. Yeah, I got the whitelist and did the pre-sale thing on, but like with Red Light, with Vapor, when I started looking, I waited for them to find some support on the dip. And then that's where I bought in. So I have no emotion whether they're up or down. Like, I bought into Vapor. I believe it was like, I want to say 11 or 12 cents. It's down at 1 cent. But I bought a position where I was comfortable, and I also didn't use money that I was like, oh my God, I got an ROI or I'm going to lose my house. Like, I feel like people are over leveraging themselves, which is what's fueling the emotion. And so people are buying the highs and selling the lows because of emotion. But hodl because you love the project means that I believe long-term. So I'm not going to dump on the project. I'm going to let them take the capital that I put into it so that they can grow.
Yeah, and the way I see, I think that, do you love a project because with your brain, you see a vision that they have and you think, oh yes, that will work, that will make a lot of money? Because sometimes we just fall in love with projects because maybe they made us a lot of money in the past. I know that's happened before. I'll just use that. So Jesse Eckel with Titano, where he made a lot of money on Titano. And then with his brain, he didn't see the vision going forward. Now, emotionally, he probably like, oh yeah, I love Titanium. I mean, it's made me tons of money. And we sometimes fall into that. So I guess it depends why you love, what it means to love the project. Do you mentally look at the project and say, oh yeah, they have a really good plan going forward. I think the team can accomplish that plan. I think the community will follow the team as they accomplish that plan. Then that's something that, hey, maybe you hold on to. But if not, if it's just, oh, they've made me a lot of money in the past, I really like the founders, et cetera, that might be more of an emotional thing, is why you're holding them. And I'm not a big TA guy, so I love dollar cost average. I dollar cost average in and I dollar cost average out. So it's like, okay, I believe in this project. I'm just going to dollar cost average in. Like, I've been buying $500 worth of DAG every day. I have a KuCoin bot that buys $500 worth of DAG every day. And I don't even check the price or anything. It's just, hey, I know I want to do that. I believe in DAG long-term. And then when I decide I want to get out of a project, I usually don't dump. I'm going to sell. If I have, $15,000 in something and I say I want to get out, I'll sell $500 a day for 30 days or whatever, the case might be.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my thoughts on it.
But and to that point though, like you said early on, like you came into this with quite a bit of money from the sale of a company, so you're a lot less emotional with your money. And I that's why I started my channel, is because I only invest money that I'm okay with. If it goes to zero, I'm fine with it. And therefore I'm not selling like with Red Light. I haven't sold. I think maybe I sold some Playmates one time to get into one play that I just needed a little bit more for a certain whatever reason. But other than that, like I've just been compounding mansions. Like I have $500 into it, and I've just been compounding, and that's my goal, is to compound as much as I can before they go to Scarlet Chains. With Vaporfy, I've been buying, just like you said. It's funny because I woke up the other day, I'm like, I need to put more money into VPND, and so I got all my 4 smallest nodes up just under that $5,000 VPND mark, and I'm just going to let that ride, so I get that big fat compound bonus on Diamond Hands 3 or whatever, and then I put more money into my big one. And I feel bullish on these plays, but I'm not trying to ROI because I didn't put money into it. I need to get out right away. I didn't put enough money into it to be like, oh, I can take that and turn it into $10 million over here. Now, if I had $5,000 into something, maybe I'd be a little bit more wanting to get that out because that's a bigger loss. But that's kind of the point of like my YouTube channel, is to kind of show that. And, people I don't know that they understand, once you get to a certain following as an influencer. I didn't even know I was going to become an influencer per se, but I'm getting hit up by 3 and 4 projects a day, it seems like now, wanting me to shill everything that's out there. And a lot of people don't realize, James, I think, how many projects we actually turn down because we don't see what they're doing is a good fit. It doesn't fit what our goals are, what our niche is, what the communities that follow us want us to do. So, I mean, I've turned down a bunch. And I'm probably going to start turning down even more because I want to get back to my personal plays in terms of, you can take a little bit of money and grow it. I do still believe that. But I believe that communities rallying together and cooperating and being community is what's going to help drive that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and then it's people get angry when you turn them down too. In fact, I just got a DM as we were talking here. Sad to see you turn down such an innovative project. I've seen you promote projects that weren't even close to the innovation that we have. It says a lot about who you are. So those are always fun to get.
Yeah. Well, and I want to bring that up too, because as we're talking about, whose fault is, I mean, it's everyone's fault. I mean, it's just a hot mess in DeFi. It's the Wild West, so you just got to kind of know what to expect. But, when you went and had lunch with Jesse and, and I posted on there, whatever, that guy just came in there and like, oh, poor Jesse, blah, 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 people don't understand, like, 1 or 2 of those kinds of messages, you're like, okay, whatever. But when you are getting beat down from every direction, because it seems like as an influencer, as anyone really in the public space, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. We can't please everybody, and it can take a serious emotional toll, because most of us that are here on YouTube are here because we love to create, like we're creators. So, we create thumbnails, we're artists, we're emotional in general. And so when you get enough comments, I just had a guy jump on my most recent tweet, called me a dickhead, because I was like, I think you're confused. This is not that, this is this. And he just went off on me. It's like, that's not community. That's not what DeFi should be. We're trying to gain mass adoption, right? Like DeFi, if it's ever going to be taken seriously as an investment place for bringing institutional money into, we got to stop acting like children and start acting like, professionals, to at least to a degree. I mean, I'm wearing a Mario Kart shirt, so I'm not talking about like we need to be in suits and ties, but we need mass adoption if we want to be taken seriously in this space. We need more money coming into this space. And so we need to start working together to create opportunities to where these projects can be deemed investable and not just hodl coins, because there's nothing fun about just hodling, right? Like we want to be trading, we want to see highs and we want to see lows. Like that's just the excitement of what we're in. And institutional stock market, all that stuff is no different. We could be that, but it literally, we have to work together and make the space a better place. If we expect, older people with more money to come join us.
Yeah, no, totally agree. Yeah, we have to understand that we have the same goals, and that like we need to work more together. I think like when a project that I like, if I've done a video on a project and then that project fails, people like I have more money in it than you do. So like I know you're hurting, and I'm sorry, I'm just doing the best that I can, but I lost more, and so I'm hurting along with you, and that's what I want it to be. Is like, hey, when a project does really well, we're kind of rejoicing together. When it does poorly, we're lamenting together. And what are your thoughts on Strong? So Strong is kind of like maybe the big boy in the DeFi space, we might say.
Grandpa Node.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on Strong? And then I also have thoughts.
You take that one, James. I don't have any thoughts. I'm not in Strong. It was well before my time, so I didn't even look at it. So
okay. Well, Narbeek, so Strong I do see as like the forerunner in the DeFi, one of the forerunners in the DeFi space, along with like I'd consider Drip also in there. Things that have been around for over a year and are still going, are forerunners, I might say. So I hope and pray that they're able to get some of these revenue streams figured out and going. They've been very slow, in my opinion, compared to I've seen some of these newer DeFi teams that like when they set their minds to something, and maybe it's slow and steady wins the race instead of, but I've seen some of these newer DeFi projects that are so fast into doing things. And so then I've kind of been looking at Strong and like, okay, maybe you're just wanting to do things right, but why? I mean, why is it taking so long from announcement to like we have something? I don't know. It just seems like a very slow moving ship to me. So that's my take on it. But I have 32 Strong nodes right now. So I really hope they're able to figure it out. That would help. I'm doing my journey to 10K a day in passive income. If Strong could get triple digits at least, then that would be very helpful for sure. Then Sam says, you have to get rid of rugs to make DeFi get institutional investments. With this many rugs, institutional investors will never trust the DeFi community as a whole. I think he means as a while. Yeah, Jeremy, what are your thoughts on rug pulls? And do you have any thoughts on ways we could protect the community better? Or I don't know, do you have any thoughts on any of that?
Yeah, I have lots of thoughts. Be careful with what you ask. To me, part of you kind of got to go to the source of where rug pulls are coming from, right? Human greed is where rug pulls are coming from. So you got humans that are greedy that just want to oh, we're a fork of this, and then take your money when you invest. But why would you invest? Right? Like, why are you investing in them? Your greed is saying, hey, there's something new. So, there's that meme out there with that guy that's looking back at the one girl in red while he's holding his girlfriend's hand. That applies here. It's like you got several projects that are doing real stuff in the world to make blockchain technology more accessible, to give them more use cases. But our human need and greed to make more money as fast as possible, because unfortunately, I hate to say, I'm the boomer here, so I'm probably going to get flamed for this, but the generation that is running DeFi right now has almost zero ability for delayed gratification. And that's why investing in the stock market back when I was coming up is a lot different than investing in DeFi today, because no one has that. I'm willing to wait for the company to grow my money that I gave them, right? And so as long as we keep jumping to every new thing, trying to turn a fast buck, which all that means, you guys, is that I'm going to put my money in as early as I can, and then I'm going to tell everyone else to put money in, and then I'm going to yank all the newest investors' money as fast as possible, and I'm going to run away laughing to the bank, while everyone else that got in has nothing and gets rugged. So all you're doing is you are facilitating and helping these rugs. They're getting their money and you're taking the newest investors' money. I don't feel good about that, which is why I didn't sell off 10K, through that dark forest pump. Which is why, the other reason is I know the team now personally, with them, they are building a tomb fork that's coming, because they want to add more stability. They are building a drip fork. They have all these things in the work. So would I want to jump around and risk my money with unproven development teams because it's so anonymous out here? Or do I want to invest in teams like Vapor, like R&D, who I think heard the cries of people saying this isn't really a cool image, who has changed to red light finance and, trying to, I guess, move away from that a little bit. We'll see. Time will tell. But it's a development team that I believe is really helping the space. And I believe that Dark Forest, their dev team, with as many faults as we run into and issues that we run into with pretty much every launch we've done so far with them, I believe in them as a development team, and I believe in their long-term vision to, Trey, if anything, he understands regulations are coming, guys. This is the other part of rugs. Like, the more that we fall for it, the more that we feed into it. We say, oh, we want to be decentralized, no regulations, but then we cry rug and we want regulations. And so you can't have your cake and eat it too on this, but you got to find teams with project and put your money into them. Give them more money to work with to build what you believe in. And then you're going to make money. But if you keep spreading so dang thin that you got $100 here and $500 there, you're probably not going to make a whole lot, except on, hopefully being early and taking other people's money.
Yeah, no, I think, yeah, I liked what you said. You can't have no regulation and no rug pulls. It's just the way that the world works. So I think we have to find a balance. I think there needs to be some regulation. I don't know that completely decentralized is going to be the way to go, because I think we're finding that there's almost more rug pulls than there is profit right now. And so you have to kind of find where that balance is. I think the traditional finance market is overregulated, where it's hard for average people to make money because there's more regulation. It'd be better to have a few scams. Like, for example, a lot of good projects in traditional finance you can only get into if you're an accredited investor. So you have to have a CPA write a letter saying he has $1 million or over net worth for you to get into some really good deals. And so to me, that's over-regulation that, it's to protect investors, but it makes it so investors, there needs to be a little risk or there's not any reward. But I think the risk reward, we're too far on the reward side where it's too risky. Yep. So that's my take, is there's going to have to be, and it could be self-regulation of some sort. I've talked with a KYC company yesterday, and I can't say who it is, but they're going to make some announcements soon. But they're working on doing, like, they take a collateral when they do the KYC. So they take a big chunk of money, basically, and then if they rug pull, this KYC company ends up with this big chunk of money and things like that. So,
well, and I know, like, John and the guys over at Node Society, they right now have one of the most strictest KYCs you've ever seen. Like, they have had 10 to 12 companies now have backed out because they didn't want to give up all the information that they were asking for, and it's one of the things too, they have to sign, like, the companies that want to do the KYC through them have to sign a document that basically says, we will take you to, like, all your information straight to the authorities. Wherever you're at, like, we are going to the police, things will be done. And, so it's like, we do see, that's where I think is we need that self-regulation. We need entities. I know, like, Obsidian Council is kind of, I've heard it out in the space, like they are the KYC, maybe Node Society is the K, but we have some groups that form from all of the communities, come together and say, this is the standard, right? This is, if they will come through here, we will invest in it. But anything else, you know what? That's where you're going to go out and you're going to take your own risks. And you're going to know that if you get rug pulled, it's your own fault because you took the risk.
Yeah. And so Envios says nodes are a scam. And so I think another thing that's helpful is just if we're clear about the difference between a scam and just a failed project. And I think that would be helpful also, because they're two different things. Sometimes it's hard to tell which it was. But often, like, I don't think most of the node projects were scams. I think they were just maybe poor economic experiments or something like that. They ended up just kind of failing. So I think, like, being a little bit more clear, like, not everything is a rug pull. It's just a failed project. And so I think being even more careful like that. So like Cubo is a good example. So, or a Tavern right now is a good example. So they're down quite a bit. I'm not going to say they're failed, but they're down a lot. But I've made my money back on them because it wasn't a rug pull. It wasn't like I put in money and they stole the liquidity. But they put in money. They actually held their price for several months, and then now they failed. But they gave plenty of time for initial people to get their money back. So it's a tough space though right now for sure.
Well, and it's the Wild West, right? Like everyone's testing and trying new things, right? And so I was talking with Josh about this the other day that like right now there are teams that are innovating and they're trying to take and they say it in their white papers and their get books that we've had a chance to see everything that failed. I know that Pirate Nodes is another one that in their white paper, like we were late to the game, but we have stepped back and watched everything that's happened and we believe that we've solved it. But the problem is that now people will come into that, try to either make a quick flip because they don't believe in nodes in general, or they're going to treat it just like any other node project, because this is what I learned from my node experience in the past. So I'm going to apply it to this new, more innovative project, and it's causing this, I think, this issue with newer, innovative projects that are trying to do things differently, where people are just treating it like the old and they're just yanking their money right back out of it, and then they can't get off the ground. I don't think that nodes are a scam or that they're even necessarily failed. For most projects, they're using it as a fundraiser to get them where they want to go. The problem is they're not doing the math very well early on. I mean,
yeah, and that's what Envio says is nodes collect as much money as they can, and then they try to resolve the sell pressure problem. Why not doing it the other way? And I totally agree. And I think people just didn't realize. I think like when Ring, Strong was so successful and all they were doing was just creating nodes that give rewards. They really weren't doing anything else for a long time. They talked about, well, in the future, we're going to do other things. But for now, we're just nodes that give rewards. And so Ring was the first one where they're like, okay, so you can create something that just gives rewards and it lasts for years. And so I think a lot of node projects didn't realize, eventually there's going to be huge sell pressure. And now we're finding out there is. And I want to show you kind of another thing that is a problem in DeFi. So if you look at the market cap right now of all of crypto, it's about 1.8 trillion. Well, in October of last year, it was 2.8 trillion. So we have twice as many projects as there were in October with $1 trillion less market cap total. And so I think like that's a problem. There's less money in crypto as a whole, but there's twice as many projects.
Yeah.
And so that's making it harder. Like I think strong nodes would probably be fine right now if there weren't 1,000 other node projects for people to get into. But that's kind of like squeezed down how long these Ponzi tokenomic experiments can last.
Yep.
And I also wanted to show, somebody asked, how will these do? Let me see where it is. How will these projects do? Dominic says, how will these projects do during a bear market? From my take, since November 7th, we've been in a bear market.
Yeah.
That's my take, is we've been in a 5-month bear market. It's not been a severe, I mean, I guess we're 50% down almost from, or 40% down from all-time highs. But to me, this is the chart of a bear market here. So that actually makes me feel good in a way, because I think, a lot of these struggles we're having is in a bear market, and that makes me feel better about the future. So
yeah, because we're going to come out of it, and we all know and believe that crypto is the future. I mean, we see especially the US dollar just going into the ground right now with inflation. And so we know that at some point we are going to see a move into crypto. And like my perspective on it right now is I'm compounding everything, like, except if I need some money or I might want to get into another play. I'm only taking what I need when I need it. That's my own personal like theory, which is why I didn't need $10,000. I need Dark Forest to last. I need them to get through the bear market and get to Trey's vision of investing into off-chain assets such as land, and then selling, doing the forestation thing because of the dark forest, selling, flooding for wetlands, and then leasing that land back to the government for actual income that can support the treasury. When you incorporate into Wyoming, you got a 3-year gap where if they put down a new regulation on crypto, the company has 3 years. So like Trey over at Dark Forest sees all of this stuff happening. So I am not going to do things right now because my greed, I absolutely wanted to claim when I saw $3,000 sitting in my, I literally right now, James, could share my screen. I have $3,300 that I could literally hit claim on right now. Obviously taxes and fees, whatever. But I mean, the greed in me, because we all have it, wants to click that claim button and cash it out and then say, I'm a millionaire, whatever. But I want the project to do better more than I want that money right now, because I am relying on crypto at this point to be my retirement. It'd be nice to just flip everything and make a bunch of money quick, but I want that passive income. And I think a lot of people in this space right now are crying passive income, but treating it for a quick buck.
Yeah, you're a loyal man. I feel like I've just lost, for me personally, again, and some of it's emotion, but I've just lost faith in a lot of the long-term visions of, there's some that I believe in and some that I'm compounding. But I've just lost faith in a lot of, like people say, oh, I'm going to do this long-term. And then I'm just like, I don't know. It's just, so you're a strong man. So, and that shows a lot of belief in a project. And there's few, I will say that I've been discouraged in the DeFi space where I'm just I'm looking more to projects. Okay, what has lasted in the past? So that's like yield nodes has been something I'm like, man, you have 29 months of history of doing what you're doing. And to me, that's like, oh man, that's strong. Drip just hit their year anniversary and they're higher than they were a year ago. And so to me, that's like, man, that's a win. So yeah, it's definitely, and there is emotion involved. Even when you have a lot of money, even when you're just using money that's extra, there's still a lot of emotion in it. Like there's been some days where I'm excited to go check all my projects. I don't know if you guys do this, but you open up a tab for each of your projects, and I do AVAX first. So I'll open Grape Finance, Tavern, Alpha Shares, what are some other AVAX projects, Thor, et cetera, et cetera. And there used to be, oh, I'm excited to open up all my AVAX projects. Now there's not. It's kind of like, oh, that's kind of a sad time right now.
Well, but part of the problem though is, like, I mean, you kind of alluded to it, like with being more projects and less market cap, our money is, like, as investors, is spread so thin that you don't have enough in any project to really do a lot with. The projects aren't getting enough money to do what they want to do. And so we're basically have become a self-fulfilling prophecy. And that, I mean, it took me this whole like 2-3 months to like kind of, get to the point where like my mindset is shifting, but I'm also very much an optimist. And I don't want to get to the point where, I just start like, I don't want to give up. Like, I do believe that there are good founders trying to like build blockchain technologies and make this space viable. And I'm probably not going to spread, as far and wide as some people, because I'd rather put more money into something I believe in than little bits of money trying to make a quick buck in 1,000 different plays. Now, like I said, I'm going to get flamed for saying that. People probably think I'm stupid. I'm new. So I'm the dumb new guy, but at the same time, like, I feel like if we don't have some kind of conviction in that, then everything that we love about this space is just going to be regulated right out of our hands.
Yeah. And my take recently has been, look for the utility, because that's why DeFi was originally created, was utility. So like, for example, I believe in Ethereum long term. Okay. Like, I think it solves a fundamental problem. And so I look at EMP.money, and it's a tomb fork that's pegged to the price of Ethereum. And so it's like, okay, EMP money is something that I believe in. I believe in master nodes. Like, that's a necessary part of a lot of these blockchains. And so yield nodes is providing that. And then if I don't see long-term utility, I am treating it more like a short-term play. And so, but it's a difficult spot. It's a difficult market to make money in, for sure. And so I feel for people, definitely.
I mean, it's basically what I've realized. From what I first came into today is like we're literally all just trying to be the quickest to trade each other's money.
Yeah, there's truth to that. Envio says I'm cashing out from nodes and putting on blue chips like Link, way undervalued. And then the question comes into that though, what is a blue chip?
Yeah, right.
That's where, because I've heard people call Strong a blue chip, and so it depends on your definition of blue chip. Again, just depends on what you believe in the project long term. So yeah, awesome. And Josh has a good point. Look at what Phantom did. So Phantom, I believe in their vision. I believe in their project. I believed in their team, but the devs just decided they were done. They walked away, and the Phantom price, it's hard to see a situation where it recovers. I mean, you don't know what'll happen in a year, but that's
maybe 100 Days Ventures, that 100 Days Resurrections jumps in and resurrects the project.
Yeah, that would be cool. So Matthew says, can you all discuss why these projects are all trying to build their own chain or subnet, if that is a better term? Don't they need to then convince other projects to use their chain to benefit? You want to start with that, Jeremy, or I have thoughts also?
Yeah. I mean, I'll be quick on this one because you probably have better thoughts than I do. But we've all seen the gas on AVAX, right? AVAX is known for its low gas fees. That's why pretty much everything I'm in is AVAX. I'm an AVAX maxi. I finally got some stuff on a couple of different chains, but I just find it here in Idaho, it's difficult to get on other chains, and like I have to weasel my way around the market a little bit. So everything I have is on AVAX. So using that as an example, when you got especially like P2E games, I mean, I heard Krabata is really impacting AVAX's mainnet. But when you have all of these projects launching on one chain, like your gas fees go up. I mean, I literally went to compound my 18th mansion with red light and it was 0.09 AVAX. I'm just not going to do that. And so if 8-Bit Alex can create his own blockchain and then move that project to there where it's then gasless, and then other projects want to, I mean, if I was a project, I know I can get more investors if my investors don't have to pay gas fees to interact with my project, right? And then you got like Vaporfy, who's doing a subnet. Like 8bix is doing a blockchain, and then Vapor is doing an Avalanche subnet. So all the projects that join Jose and the VPND team on their subnet will relieve pressure from the main net. Therefore, the projects that are on there, for one, are going to have benefit from lower gas fees. But also those that are holding with that, with Vapor that created that subnet is going to get first look at all the new projects that want to offer lower gas fees and stuff like that. So I see kind of a win-win across the board.
Yeah. And so my honest thoughts are play to earn game, new decks, new chain can be buzzwords to try and just somehow keep the price up. And that's where it gets really tough, is because, Strong is like, oh, we're coming out with our own chain. And now everybody's coming out with their own chain. And sometimes I see, even in like on Twitter and stuff, comments, oh, just wait until this chain comes out. And it's like, well, to your point, Matthew, well, that's not really, I mean, there's nothing just, I could make my own chain. In fact, AVAX is designed where you can create a subnet on AVAX very easily. That's what they intend actually on AVAX, is to create subnets. So like you could do that, but like you said, unless people are willing to move over to it, and play to earn game is the same way. Like there's nothing inherently that's going to save you in a play to earn game unless it's new, fun, it creates some hype. Like it's got to do something kind of different. And the same is true of like a deck. I've heard decks. It's kind of just something that's thrown out there as like, this is going to save it. It's like, well, there's a lot of dexes. So like, why would people use you instead of Pancake Swap? Or why would they use you instead of Trader Joe? And then actually we've seen some dexes that have come out and people went to them and now they're back on Trader Joe because they're like, oh, that one didn't work as well. So I guess just be careful with buzzwords like chain, subnet, dex, play to earn game. I'm sure there's other ones as well, but they can be buzzwords, but they could be, game changers also. Some people might have thought that AVAX was a buzzword. Oh, we're creating our own chain. They thought, oh, that's a buzzword. And then, I mean, what's AVAX's they're an $18 billion market cap now. So, I mean, if we'll say Vapor, for example, if they're able to get a significant amount of market share and able to get up to a $10 billion market cap or something like that, I mean, the price will go way, way, way up. We'll just say that. So, yeah, it's hard to tell exactly. We don't know the future for sure.
Yeah. Well, and that brings up a good point. I'm using projects and what they're doing that I trust. Now, if someone just came to me like, hey man, we got this new project, you want to do a video for us, we're creating a subnet, probably not going to be all that interested, because I would rather support Vaporfy and their team. I'd rather support Red Light and things that I already have, rather than trying to go over there and take that risky play because they're using the buzzwords for marketing.
Yeah, and one advantage, the node projects already have a community that will use it for sure. Like, I guarantee you, when Vapor makes a DEX, every Vapor holder is going to use that DEX. I mean, there would be no reason not to. So it's kind of like, Comb has some yield farming opportunities now. And I know a lot of the Comb holders are going to use the Comb farms because, they benefit from it. And then, like you said, they already have funds to create that. It's quite a bit of work to create a DEX, a good one. And so if you have like a good base there, we have users, we have funds already in place, that could be potential for, hey, we're going to create a DEX that competes right away. Definitely possibility. So I better not make this last too much longer, because I do have a video that I got to get out here about Alluvium. So Alluvium is doing something that I think is big. Like, I think it'll bring, because, one thing I noticed was like Call of Duty is a game that I play. I have my PlayStation sitting right here next to me.
Yes.
And
Hit me up, we'll have to play.
Yeah, that's right. And people pay a lot of money to buy like skins in the game, right? I mean, they made $10 billion just from people buying skins, buying new guns. And that was essentially play to earn, sort of. It's kind of crypto of sort. Their store that they had, where you're buying something. It's basically an NFT. You're buying it, and then it changes the way you look. So I know in gaming, people will pay a lot of money for visual things in a game. So I know that there is
Fortnite, there's skins.
Yep, definitely. So let's see. Do you think that in the future, node projects will have some sort of insurance in the protocol, like what yield nodes are doing? I don't know exactly what that would look like, but yeah, I mean, that's kind of what the treasury is supposed to be. It's supposed to provide some sort of support for the price. But I mean, you can only do what you can do. You can never combat selling pressure. The problem is the node projects give out more rewards than it's possible to make somewhere else. So you just can never completely combat the sell pressure with whatever you're doing with the treasury. Because if you could, then people would go do what you're doing instead of investing in you. Like, if you could make 1%, 1.5% a day, we'll say 5% a day. That's what some node projects have done. If you could make 5% a day yield farming, then nobody would get in the nodes. They would just go yield farm. But the problem is you can't boost the price as fast as people can sell that if people lose interest. So that's my take. We'll take a couple more questions here, then we better hop off here. So we've been going an hour. That's I wasn't sure how long we were going to.
I know, right?
We got a lot to talk about. It seems that crypto is a place to move your money, to grow it potentially, then move it back out, buy stuff. I'd love to see more products you can buy in the crypto space.
I think we're going to start seeing more of that. I've actually been in talks with a couple different people that are working on like merch stores and stuff like that. We need the payment, the payment processor basically is the only hitch in that giddy up. They have to be able to accept all, it'd be nice if they could accept all forms of crypto, even these altcoins, VPND. I'd love to be able to buy, merch or something with VPND or Playmates or whatever the tokens that I hold, at minimum being able to at least convert it to USDC or something like that and make purchases. And I know that like Vapor just partnered with an actual vape shop in the UK that you can buy vape supplies with VPND. So that's coming. I believe that's coming. It's just taking time.
Yep. Totally agree that there's a lot of new stuff coming. So,
Yep.
yeah, absolutely. Well, we could talk. I'm doing an AMA with Sphere here upcoming, but yeah, they have a new thing called quantum liquidity, which is pretty cool. But basically, usually liquidity just sits there, and essentially what Sphere's done is they've taken their liquidity and they're using their liquidity to go yield farm. So instead of it just sitting there, it's sitting there and it's also providing yield. So that's that could potentially be a pretty big thing. All right, let's go ahead and wrap it up. It's been an hour. I think that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Jeremy, I appreciate you coming on. I enjoyed this, just getting someone else's thoughts. And I want to encourage
boomer.
Yeah, thoughts from a boomer, right? More wisdom, right? Gray
Sure.
hair is a crown of wisdom, Proverbs says.
I got them coming out thanks to crypto.
Yeah, that's right. That's definitely stressful. What I want to encourage people is they listen to like we have different perspectives on some things. And what I want people to do is they watch influencers is not just soak it in and say, oh, I'm going to be like James. I'm going to be like Jeremy. But you take in different pieces of knowledge from different places, from your own experience, from your own situation. And then you kind of mesh that all together in yourself to make your own investing strategy.
Yeah.
That's why I like to bring on these other YouTubers. And I like that we don't always agree on everything.
Yep.
So I appreciate you, Jeremy, coming on. I want every single person who's watching right now, I would like it if you would go over to Jeremy's channel and just drop a subscribe for him. Okay. That would be great. Sometimes people see YouTubers as competing, but I don't see that. Like you can watch Jeremy's videos and you can watch my videos.
Heck,
so I know you have time.
Right after I get off this, I'm getting back on your great finance video to try to make sense of it. They want me to do a video for them. I literally told them, I don't know if I'm smart enough to break this down myself, much less for my audience. So just know that's where I'm at. I'm using his to figure out what it is so I can maybe do a video on it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, great finances. Those tomb forks, they're complicated, but they're big. I'm having to make sure I don't do videos on every tomb fork that comes out. That's my challenge right now. So, but yeah, everyone stay tuned. Hop on, subscribe to Jeremy, Expedition DeFi. Stay tuned. I'll have my Illuvium video out here sometime this afternoon. I'm going to have a live AMA with 0x Block Finance later this afternoon. That's kind of what else is on my agenda for today. But yeah, thank you everybody for watching. And thank you, Jeremy. And I hope everybody has a good day.
Thanks, James.
All right. Take care.